Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are stepping back in time to explore one of the most important cars ever built. A car that didn't just change the auto industry, it changed the world. I'm talking about the legendary Ford Model T. Introduced in 1908 by Henry Ford and built by Ford Motor Company, the Model T was more than just a vehicle. It was a revolution on wheels. Before the Model T arrived, automobiles were luxury machines. Only wealthy people could afford them, and they were complicated to operate and expensive to maintain. But Henry Ford had a different vision. He wanted to build a car that ordinary people could afford. Farmers, workers, families, everyday Americans. The result was the Model T, a machine that made personal transportation accessible for millions of people. In today's video, we'll take a deep look at this historic vehicle. We'll explore its exterior design, its interior comfort, its engine power, the driving experience, and finally give our verdict on why the Model T remains one of the most influential vehicles ever created. Let's start with the exterior design. At first glance, the Ford Model T may look extremely simple compared with modern vehicles. But in the early 1900s, it was a practical and clever piece of engineering. The design focused on durability, affordability, and functionality rather than luxury styling. The body sits high off the ground, and that was done intentionally. In the early 20th century, roads were rough, muddy, and often unpaved. A higher ride height helped the car travel across uneven terrain without getting stuck. The large thin wheels with wooden spokes were designed to handle dirt roads, rocks, and rough paths. The front of the Model T features a tall, narrow radiator grille with the iconic Ford badge. The headlights were round and mounted on either side of the radiator. Early versions used carbide lamps before electric lighting became standard. The front fenders were simple curved pieces of metal that protected the car from mud and debris. One of the most recognizable aspects of the Model T was its color. Many people have heard the famous quote often associated with Henry Ford: customers could have the car in any color they wanted, as long as it was black. While early versions came in several colors, black paint became the standard for many years because it dried faster and allowed faster production. The Model T came in many body styles over its long production run. There were touring cars, roadsters, coupes, sedans, pickup-style trucks, and even delivery vans. The touring version was one of the most popular because it could carry several passengers and was useful for families. Despite its simplicity, the Model T had a certain charm. The upright stance, the thin tires, the exposed mechanical parts, and the tall body gave it a unique vintage personality. Even today, more than a century later, the Model T is instantly recognizable. Now let's move inside and explore the interior. When we talk about interior luxury in the Ford Model T, we have to remember the time period. This car was built to be affordable and practical, not luxurious. Compared with modern cars filled with technology, leather seats, touchscreens, and climate control, the Model T interior is extremely basic. But for people in the early 1900s, it was still an incredible step forward in personal transportation. Inside the cabin, you'll find simple bench-style seating. Most Model T touring cars had 2 rows of seats, allowing 4 to 5 passengers to travel together. The seats were often upholstered in leather or leatherette material depending on the version and year. The dashboard is almost non-existent by modern standards. Instead of a wide panel filled with digital screens and buttons, the Model T had only a few simple controls. There was a basic speedometer in some versions, but many early cars didn't even include one. What really makes the Model T interior interesting is its unusual control system. Instead of using pedals like modern cars, the Model T had a completely different driving setup. There were 3 pedals on the floor, but they didn't control the same things we're used to today. The left pedal controlled the transmission's low and high gear. The middle pedal was used for reverse. The right pedal controlled the brake. Meanwhile, the throttle was operated using a lever on the steering column rather than a foot pedal. There was also a lever that controlled the spark timing, something that modern drivers rarely think about. Adjusting the spark timing helped control engine performance and efficiency. Learning to drive a Model T required practice and understanding. It wasn't as simple as turning a key and pressing the accelerator. Drivers needed to understand the car's mechanical systems and operate them carefully. Still, for people in the early 20th century, owning a car like the Model T represented freedom and independence. Families could travel farther than ever before, farmers could transport goods to town, and people could explore the countryside with ease. Now let's talk about the engine power of this historic machine. The Ford Model T was powered by a 2.9-liter inline four-cylinder engine. While that may sound small by modern standards, it was perfectly adequate for the time. The engine produced about 20 horsepower. That might seem extremely low today, but remember that the car itself was lightweight and designed for slow rural roads. The Model T could reach a top speed of around 40 to 45 miles per hour, which was considered quite fast in the early 1900s. The engine was built with simplicity and reliability in mind. It used a basic design that was easy to repair and maintain. Farmers and mechanics could often fix problems themselves using simple tools. One of the most important innovations connected to the Model T wasn't just the engine, it was the way the car was built. Henry Ford introduced the moving assembly line in 1913, which dramatically reduced the time required to build a car. Before the assembly line, building a car could take more than 12 hours. With Ford's new production system, a Model T could be assembled in about 90 minutes. This revolutionary manufacturing process reduced costs and allowed Ford to produce millions of cars. Because of this innovation, the price of the Model T dropped significantly over time. In the early years it cost around $850, but later versions were available for less than $300. This made it affordable for many middle-class families. Between 1908 and 1927, Ford produced more than 15 million Model T vehicles. That number was absolutely massive for its time and made the Model T one of the best-selling cars in history for many decades. Now let's talk about what it was actually like to drive this legendary car. Driving the Model T is completely different from driving a modern vehicle. First of all, starting the car required a hand crank in the front of the engine. Drivers would physically turn the crank to start the engine. This process required care because improper technique could cause the crank to kick back. Once the engine started, drivers needed to adjust the spark and throttle levers to keep the engine running smoothly. The car's two-speed planetary transmission worked differently from modern manual or automatic gearboxes. Pressing the left pedal fully down kept the car in low gear. Releasing the pedal shifted it into high gear. This simple system allowed drivers to move through different speeds without a traditional gear shifter. The steering wheel was large and required significant effort to turn, especially at low speeds. Without modern power steering, every movement required physical strength. The ride itself was bouncy and mechanical. The suspension used simple leaf springs, which were effective for rough roads but not particularly smooth. On paved roads today, the ride feels quite rigid compared with modern cars. Braking performance was also very different from modern vehicles. The Model T relied mostly on mechanical braking systems that were far less powerful than today's hydraulic disc brakes. But despite these differences, driving a Model T could be a joyful experience. The slow speed allowed drivers to truly enjoy the surroundings. The open touring versions provided fresh air and a strong connection to the road and environment. Many people who drive restored Model T cars today describe it as a fun, engaging, and educational experience. You feel every mechanical movement, every vibration of the engine, and every change in road surface. It's a reminder of how far automotive technology has come over the past century. The Model T also had an enormous social impact. It transformed transportation around the world. Rural communities became more connected. Businesses could transport goods more easily. Families could travel long distances together. In many ways, the Model T helped shape modern society. Roads improved, gas stations appeared, motels opened along highways, and the entire infrastructure of modern transportation began to grow. Now let's move to the final verdict. The Ford Model T is not just another classic car. It is one of the most important vehicles ever built. Its design may look simple today, its power modest, and its interior basic. But its influence on history is enormous. The Model T proved that automobiles could be affordable for everyday people. It introduced revolutionary manufacturing techniques. It helped build the modern automotive industry and changed how people live, travel, and work. Even today, more than 100 years after its introduction, the Model T remains a symbol of innovation, accessibility, and industrial progress. Collectors, historians, and car enthusiasts around the world still admire this vehicle. Restored examples continue to appear in museums, classic car shows, and historic driving events. When you look at modern cars packed with technology, safety systems, and luxury features, it's incredible to remember that many of those developments started with a simple idea. Build a reliable car that ordinary people can afford. That idea became the Ford Model T, and it changed the world forever. And that's why the Model T isn't just a classic car. It's a piece of automotive history that paved the road for every vehicle we drive today. If you enjoyed learning about this legendary machine, make sure you stay tuned for more incredible car stories and automotive history right here on the channel.